If you're tired and feeling lonely.
Every day, prominent Republicans across the country tell us the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy.
January 6th was a riot that was incited by Donald Trump.
President Trump is responsible for provoking the events of the day.
They say Donald Trump is out of touch with reality.
He was livid and shaking and, showed a detachment from reality.
But sadly, these same Republicans say they will vote for him again.
If the president was the party's nominee, would you support him?
Absolutely.
The line of supporting Donald Trump starts behind me.
It's inconceivable to me that I wouldn't vote for the Republican nominee.
These Republicans are suffering from partisan derangement syndrome.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and finally we found some Republicans with some common sense. They're a tiny, tiny minority, and you know what the GQP thinks about minorities. You'd be hard-pressed to find them with the magnifying glasses. They are needles in a MAGA haystack. But good Lord, is it refreshing to find people with enough sense to realize democracy is a red line that must not be crossed. That plans to subvert a democracy and install a dictatorship is not politics as usual. That insurrection against a very nation is a pretty good indicator of who not to vote for. We don't expect MAGAs to have the brains to figure this out, but we'd like to see that Republican greed does not supersede morality, does not supersede the very identity of America. But alas, for all these in this tiny minority Republican leadership are nothing but followers.
At this point in the ad, I would tell you to call this number so you can help these deranged partisan Republicans. But sadly, they're too far gone.
Okay, cut.
Yeah? I mean, didn't Bill Barr just say verbatim that he's out of touch with reality? Right? And then they want to give him nuclear codes? What the
That's why it's great to see the precious few of their own kind with enough sense and enough guts to speak truth to Trumpism. Look, I wasn't involved in politics until I saw pending insanity brought on by the disease of corruption and Trumpism. If you don't agree with somebody, vote against them. It's as simple as that. That's America. That's democracy. But if you don't agree with somebody and you lose the election and then claim that you won, storm the Capitol, then commit treason, then plot overtaking the electors, that, people, is anti-American to the very core, by the very definition. It's not hard to figure out, and it's indisputable what the Republican Party is conspiring towards here. The uniqueness of America is our democracy. Regardless of your opinions, democracy is what supersedes all other concerns. Because without democracy, you've lost your opinions forever. You become Russia, North Korea. A platform of democracy is the absolute prerequisite that every candidate must endorse completely, or you do not vote for that person, period. Because if you vote for that person, you're losing your vote, you're losing your country, and you're submitting to a dictator's will, and that's a fact. I know we have a lot of people with thick cranial plates out there, so let me spell this out for you. Vote for candidates that are pro-democracy. Want to know how you can tell if they're pro-democracy? It's not the election integrity farce, nonsense rhetoric that the GQP is labeling their strategy of anointing themselves kings by deleting the vote in favor of their partisan fake electors. You tell people by their actions, not their words. A pro-democracy candidate is somebody who readily relinquishes power, not seeks it insatiably. A pro-democracy candidate recognizes they don't hold the answers of all the questions, the masters of all truth. A pro-democracy candidate uplifts others, collaborates, empowers the people over their own concerns. They do what's good for the nation, not their own power. So if you've got somebody that's in the opposite direction, that forever cries that their election was stolen, that they should be empowered, that they should be put back in power, that everybody else is wrong and they are right on everything, that's a psychopath. That's anti-American. That's a wannabe dictator. Thank God for people on the other side who have enough brains to put country over party. And I say brains because all these jackaloons are going to sorely miss democracy once they've thrown it in the toilet. They may be starry-eyed by big paychecks or insane ideology, but guess what? Authoritarian regimes don't do very well. Do they, people? Don't we all say that we're proud to be Americans? Well, what does that mean? Do you know? These Republicans don't care. As long as they get to feel like they're at the top, they have no issues giving it all away. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.